WWE SmackDown Results February 4, 2022. The post-Royal Rumble edition of WWE SmackDown on Fox opens up with a look back at Saturday's Rumble Premium Live event. We see how Brock Lesnar won the 30-man Royal Rumble match and then on Raw announced that he will challenge WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38. We're now live from the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma as Michael Cole welcomes us to SmackDown. He's joined at ringside by Pat McAfee. We go right to the ring and out comes the Bloodline to mostly boos, WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, SmackDown Tag Team Champions the Usos, and Paul Heyman. They all stop at the entranceway as the pyro goes off. Heyman carries Reigns' title in the air as the group marches to the ring now. We get a video package of highlights from Reigns' DQ win over Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble. The Bloodline enters the ring and more pyro goes off. Reigns takes the mic to mostly boos now. Heyman speaks first and says he's here tonight to serve as the special counsel to our tribal chief. Heyman goes on with his grand introduction and says they came here to acknowledge what really happened. Heyman says there was no plot or conspiracy, this was not done to make Brock Lesnar look foolish, but he does like a damn fool anyway, this was history unfolding before our very eyes. Heyman admits he made the biggest mistake of his career several weeks back in Chicago, when he told the greatest champion in WWE history that he needed to be protected from Lesnar. Heyman says he got fired and hit with a Superman punch for it, and he acknowledges he got what he deserved for it. Heyman goes on and says he saw an opportunity so he took it. Reigns couldn't make WWE Day 1, so he got Lesnar into the WWE title match and he became WWE Champion. Lesnar and Reigns were then on separate brands, everyone in their places. Heyman asks how stupid was Lesnar going for Reigns. He says Lesnar looks like a schmuck and now acts like one. Heyman knew he screwed up with the tribal chief and was stuck with a happy Saskatchewan who just wanted to suplex everyone. Then we got to the Rumble and Lesnar took current WWE Champion Bobby Lashley to Suplex City, but then Reigns showed up and proved a goat can always slay a beast. Heyman goes on and says Reigns came to him, offering the hand of forgiveness, the hand of love, the hand of family, the hand of the bloodline, the hand of acknowledgement, and Heyman handed Reigns the WWE title, and he smashed Lesnar in the face with it, and because of that, Lashley pinned Lesnar and became champion. Heyman says now everyone has to acknowledge that there will not be a title versus title match at WrestleMania because Lesnar does not get what he wants, but he will do what Reigns wants him to do, and at WrestleMania 38 he will acknowledge Reigns. Heyman says this is how it's done. He turns to Reigns and says, I, Paul Heyman acknowledge you, Roman Reigns, as my tribal chief. The boos get louder. Heyman says this is Oklahoma City's chance to show history. He calls on the city to acknowledge Reigns as the tribal chief. Fans boo until the music interrupts and out comes WWE Hall of Famer Bill Goldberg. The pyro goes off and Goldberg makes his way to the ring to a big pop. Reigns and his crew all look shocked as Goldberg enters the ring. Fans chant Goldberg, now. He takes the mic and says he acknowledges Reigns as his next victim. Fans pop. Goldberg proposes a match between the two, for the title, at WWE Elimination Chamber. He says, you're next. Goldberg drops the mic and faces off with Reigns as the music starts back up. Fans chant Goldberg, now as Goldberg watches the Bloodline exit the ring. Cole and McAfee hype tonight's show, including Ronda Rousey's first blue brand appearance. Ridge Holland vs Ricochet. We go back to the ring and out comes Ridge Holland with Sheamus. We see how Cesaro and Ricochet broke Holland's nose at WWE Day 1, which is why he's wearing this protective mask. Holland and Sheamus pose in the corners as we go to commercial. Back from the break and out comes Ricochet with Cesaro as Samantha Irvin does the introductions. The bell rings and Ricochet attacks but Ridge knees him and drops him with an uppercut. Holland runs into a boot into corner but nails a big power slam in the middle of the ring. Holland continues to dominate as Sheamus cheers him on. Holland launches Ricochet into the corner and he hits hard. Holland goes on and charges but Ricochet sidesteps, sending him to the floor. Ricochet misses a baseball slide and Holland scoops him, dropping him face first over the edge of the apron. Cesaro comes over and has words with Sheamus. The referee counts but Holland brings Sheamus back in. Ricochet takes advantage of the distraction from ringside, dropping Holland from the ropes for the pin to win. Winner, Ricochet. After the match, Sheamus and Holland see that ringside as Cesaro and Ricochet celebrate. We go back to commercial. Sheamus and Ridge Holland vs Cesaro and Ricochet back from the break and we've got a tag team match. Sheamus nails 10 beats of the Bowden to Cesaro on the apron. Sheamus keeps control and hits the Irish Curse backbreaker. Ridge Holland tags in and dominates Cesaro, grounding him. Sheamus tags back in but Cesaro counters and tags in Ricochet. Ricochet flies and mounts a fence on Sheamus, dropping him and hitting a springboard moonsault for 2. They tangle and Sheamus rocks Ricochet with a big boot. Cesaro tags in. Ricochet ends up rocking Holland after he hits Cesaro. Ricochet and Holland end up down on the floor. Sheamus and Cesaro go at it again. Sheamus sits up on the top but Cesaro drop kicks him. Cesaro hits a superplex but didn't see Holland tag himself in. Holland grabs Cesaro and drops him with Northern Grit for the pin to win the rematch from WWE Day 1. Winners, Ridge Holland and Sheamus. After the match, Sheamus and Holland stand tall as their music hits. SmackDown Tag Team Champion Jimmy Uso vs Erik. We go back to the ring and out come SmackDown Tag Team Champions the Usos, Jimmy Uso with G Uso. The champs hit the ring and pose as we go back to commercial. Back from the break and we see some stills from the Royal Rumble. We go back to the ring and out come the Viking Raiders, Erik with Ivar. The bell rings and Jimmy attacks. Erik fights back and launches him with a belly-to-belly throw. Erik with another big slam for a 2 count. Erik with a stiff knee to the face. G provides a distraction from the floor. Ivar runs over and leaps off the steel ring steps but lands hard as G moves. Jimmy comes from behind and tangles with Erik. Jimmy drops Erik and goes to the top for the USO splash for the pin to get the quick win. Winner, Jimmy Uso. After the match, the Usos celebrate in the ring as we go to replays. The Usos taunt the Vikings from the ramp as Erik and Ivar seethe in the ring. Cole and McAfee plug their Elimination Chamber match. We see recent happenings between Aliyah and Natalya. Aliyah vs Natalya. We go back to the ring and out first comes Aliyah, looking to put Natalya away for a 3rd time. She greets fans at ringside and hits the ring as we go to commercial. Back from the break and Natalya is posing on the apron with a Guinness Book of World Records. She talks some trash to Aliyah over her Aliyah 317 t-shirt. They go at it and Aliyah tries for an early pin. Natalya gets upset and unloads in the corner, then takes Aliyah to the opposite corner for knee strikes to the gut. Natalya with more trash talking. Aliyah rolls her up again. More back and forth now. Aliyah fights from the apron and counters a Hurricane Rana, taking Natalya down. Aliyah with a thigh press and right hands. Natalya counters a move but Aliyah counters with a big bulldog. Natalya comes back and hits the big discus clothesline, then talks some trash. Natalya sends Aliyah out to the floor and follows, sending Aliyah into the barrier. They tangle on the floor as the referee counts. Aliyah sends Natalya into the barrier and she goes down. Aliyah scrambles back into the ring right before the 10 count to get the win. Winner by count out, Aliyah. After the match, Aliyah celebrates as her music hits. Natalya seethes at ringside and has some words with people sitting at ringside. We see Shotzi backstage on her phone. Drew Gulak walks up and says something to her but she's not interested as she turns her back. We see Drew McIntyre walking through the backstage area with his sword, and he's all smiles. Back to commercial. Back from the break and the announcers hype Ronda Rousey for later. We go back to the ring and out comes Drew McIntyre with his sword, Angela. We see how happy Baron Corbin and Madcap Moss injured him at WWE Day 1, and then how he returned at the Royal Rumble on Saturday. Cole says he returned months early. Drew talks about some of the headlines about how he was going to be out a long time, or wouldn't be back at all. Drew says a doctor told him the day after day one that he definitely wouldn't make the Rumble, and probably not WrestleMania, and Drew looked the doc in the eye and told him to kiss his ass. Drew immediately began rehab, 3 times a day, and got back as soon as he could. He says the Rumble didn't go as planned, but he and Brock Lesnar are now 1-1 and will revisit that later, but Moss and Corbin, the music interrupts and out comes Corbin with a mic. Corbin asks McIntyre if it was all worth it, to come back and risk his whole career and be thrown out like a bag of garbage by Lesnar in the Rumble. Corbin says Drew failed and won't be going to WrestleMania, and the thought of that makes Corbin very happy. Drew senses Moss sneaking up behind him in the ring. Drew stops him by pointing the sword at him, and demands Moss tell a joke. He says if Corbin tries to interrupt, he will draw blood with the sword. A nervous Moss tells a joke about Oklahoma, but Drew wants to hear a Drew McIntyre joke. Moss tells the joke about the WrestleMania main event being scot-free and the crowd boos, while Corbin laughs. Drew acts like he's laughing now, and Moss starts laughing as well. Drew levels Moss with a big claymore. Drew points out at Corbin and says he will make his life a living hell every week, and this was just the beginning. Corbin looks on and talks some trash as Drew looks on with his music playing. Cole shows us how Johnny Knoxville had Sami Zayn kicked out of the Jackass Forever premiere earlier this week, and hit him with a cattle prod. Sami is backstage with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville now, furious about the footage they just aired. Sami seethes about still not receiving his WWE Intercontinental title match from Shinsuke Nakamura. They make the match for 2 weeks from now on February 18th, and Pearce asks if they should invite Knoxville. Sami thinks he's joking. Sami walks off and in comes Natalya. She rants about how Aliyah has never really defeated her straight up. Natalya wants to face Aliyah in a dungeon-style match next week, won by pinfall or submission. Deville agrees and the match is made. Championship Contenders match, WWE Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura vs Jinder Mahal. We go to the stage and Rick Boogs is out. He begins playing after some possible technical difficulties, and does the big entrance for WWE Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura. They head to the ring together as McAfee stands on the announce table and shreds with them. We go back to commercial. Back from the break and out comes Jinder Mahal with Shanky for this non-title match. Jinder will try to win and secure a future title shot. The music interrupts before the match begins and out comes Sami Zayn, taunting and ranting at Nakamura on his way to the announce table. Nakamura charges but Jinder kicks him in the gut to start. Nakamura turns it back around and beats Jinder down. Nakamura goes on and readies for the Kinshasa but Jinder sidesteps. Jinder drops Nakamura over his knees for a close 2 count. Jinder drops a knee and another for a close 2 count. Jinder manhandles Nakamura on the mat some and keeps control as the referee warns him. Boogs tries to rally for Nakamura at ringside but Jinder keeps control and grounds him again. Nakamura fights up and out with back elbow strikes. Nakamura stuns Jinder and knocks him down with kicks. Nakamura charges and delivers a Kinshasa for the pin to win. Winner, Shinsuke Nakamura. After the match, Boogs and Nakamura celebrate as Zayn stands on top of the announce table and yells at them. We see what happened earlier tonight with Bill Goldberg and Roman Reigns. Cole confirms the match for WWE Elimination Chamber and we go back to commercial. Back from the break and we see more stills from the Royal Rumble. Cole shows us a progressive sponsored replay that shows us happenings between Naomi and Sonya Deville, including from the Rumble. Deville is backstage with Adam Pearce when Naomi walks in. Naomi wants Deville to meet her in the ring in 5 minutes to fight but Deville is busy with official duties. Naomi tells her let's do it next week then. Deville says Naomi already has a match next week, against SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair for the title. Naomi doesn't believe Deville. Pearce confirms Naomi's title shot for next week. Naomi thanks Pierce and says Deville is safe for now. She walks off. The announcers lead us to a video package on Goldberg's dominance. Cole hypes the spear versus spear, icon versus icon and generation versus generation match. The New Day versus Los Lotharios. We go back to the ring and out comes the New Day's Big E and Kofi Kingston. Cole says King Xavier Woods is still recovering from an injury. We go back to commercial and a Black History Month video tribute to Olympian Jacqueline Joyner Kersey. Back from the break and Drew McIntyre vs Madcap Moss is announced for Elimination Chamber. Kayla Braxton is backstage with Natalya now, asking for a preview of next week's Dungeon-style match with Aliyah. Natalya isn't going to wait. Oh, tell Aliyah, she's going to tell her now. She walks to the women's locker room but Ciali comes walking out, and stops for a brief stare down with Natalya. Natalya is a bit scared as she backs away and says next week after all. Natalya walks off. We go back to the ring and the New Day waits as Los Lotharios comes to the ring, Angel and Humberto. We see pre-recorded footage of their Valentine's Day photo shoot done earlier today, which was interrupted by the New Day. Big E starts off with Angel now and dodges a drop kick as Los Lotharios toss roses at the babyfaces. Big E with offense now as Kofi tags in with a drop kick and a quick 2 count. Big E and Kofi with quick tags and pin attempts early on. Angel takes Kofi to the corner and Humberto tags in. Los Lotharios with more quick offense. Kofi takes Humberto down and in comes Big E for the double team. Angel provides a distraction from the apron, allowing Humberto to drop Kofi from behind and work him over. Fans rally for the New Day now. They double team Kofi again, knocking Big E off the apron. Kofi sends Humberto to the floor and looking to nail a springboard move to him on the floor, but Angel super kicks Kofi out of the air on the way down. Los Lotharios taunt Kofi while he's down at ringside. Back to commercial. Back from the break and Kofi is being double teamed on the ropes as fans rally for Kofi and Big E. Angel pulls his snap off pants off, tosses them at Big E and goes back to work on Kofi. The referee keeps Big E from coming in. Humberto with a big belly to back suplex. Humberto grounds Kofi now as Angel cheers him on. Humberto talks some trash but misses a big top rope moonsault as Kofi moves out of the way. Big E finally tags into a big pop. He unloads with belly-to-belly suplexes and some playing to the crowd. Big E runs the ropes and hits the big splash on Angel. Angel blocks the big ending and drops Big E with a backstabber. Angel has no one to tag as Humberto was knocked off the apron. Big E catches Angel with the runnage. Kofi tags in and goes to the top and they hit Midnight Hour on Angel, but Humberto breaks it up just in time. The New Day can't believe it. Big E goes for the running spear to the apron but Humberto moves and Big E hits hard on the floor. Humberto follows up and drops Big E on the floor again. Angel and Kofi trade now. Humberto tags in for the double team after Kofi misses Trouble in Paradise. Humberto knocks Kofi off Angel's shoulders with a big missile dropkick. Kofi still kicks out at 2 now. More back and forth. Angel super kicks Kofi. Kofi blocks the wing clipper. Big E is back on the apron now. He tags in as Angel runs into Kofi's boots. They hit Midnight Hour and Big E covers for the pin to win. Winners, the New Day. After the match, the music hits as the New Day celebrates and we go to replays. Cole shows us another look at the Women's Royal Rumble and Ronda Rousey's return. We go back to the ring and out comes SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair to mostly boos. Cole says we were expecting Ronda Rousey. Flair hits the ring and stands tall as the pyro goes off. Back to commercial. Back from the break and Zayn vs Nakamura is confirmed for 2 weeks from now and Naomi vs Flair for next week. Sonya Deville is in the ring with Flair now. Deville says she hasn't ran it by higher UPS yet, but she had a conversation with Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch, and Lynch told her that Rousey picked her for WrestleMania. She expects the contracts to be signed. Deville says Flair will need a WrestleMania-worthy opponent after she beats Naomi next week. Flair is not surprised by Rousey picking Lynch for her opponent because Flair has been dominating WWE while Rousey has been at home having a baby and playing video games. Flair says mom versus mom is an easier route for Becky and Ronda. Flair has never been more confident in herself. She is the WrestleMania main event, and if Ronda wants to pick the undercard champion, go for it because number 1 doesn't talk about number 2. Flair asks the crowd who should she pick for WrestleMania? Flair says she'll pick someone who isn't even here tonight, Sasha Banks. She wishes Banks was here so she could hear her thank her. Flair says WrestleMania will be the best and worst night for Banks, and Flair will have a contract waiting for her. The music interrupts and out comes Rousey to a pop. Rousey greets fans and slaps hands on her way to the ring. Rousey enters the ring and smiles as fans pop. Rousey brings up all this he said, she said, and says they love to talk about her. Rousey says last time she checked, she won the Rumble and gets to pick her WrestleMania opponent. Rousey says Flair was right about being a mom changing her. She didn't fly across the country with her baby in an ice storm to have a chat, she did it to show her the family business of kicking ass, and Flair is one person she owes an ass kicking to. Fans chant Rousey's name now. Rousey laughs as Flair and Deville look on. Rousey says let's be clear, Flair is not special, she is just first. Rousey says she will see Flair at WrestleMania, bitch. Rousey drops the mic and stares Flair down. Flair laughs and looks out to the crowd. Flair says the opportunity is back in the main event of WrestleMania. She faces Rousey now and raises the title in the air, and says this title is her baby, and it's a prettier baby than Rousey's. Flair laughs at Rousey. Rousey takes off her jacket and squares up to fight. Deville says Rousey has a terrible temper, and Rousey needs to remember one thing, Deville runs the show, not Rousey, and she tells Rousey what to do, not the other way around. Rousey shoves Deville as Flair charges her. Rousey sidesteps Flair. Deville jumps on Rousey's back but Rousey slams her to the mat as Flair retreats from the ring. Deville screams as Rousey applies her armbar. Flair watches from the floor as Rousey snaps Deville's arm and gets back to her feet as her music starts back up. The post-Royal Rumble edition of SmackDown on Fox goes off the air with Flair and Rousey staring each other down.